Good evening, Amy Miller, 5639 Lamar. I just have a few questions. Specifically, John was asking about the specific Johnson Drive between Row and Row Boulevard or Knoll. And I believe the response from the developer was they're not aware or they're not responsible for the changes in the
Well,
street.
we're talking about the preliminary plan.
So
that's all we're here talking about tonight.
Right, I understand, ma'am. Mr. Valenti was talking about traffic studies. Is that not a part of the preliminary plan to determine
This is about
the infrastructure needed for the plan?
this is the site of the plan.
Right, and the streets
What
that
you
surround
said.
the plan?
That's when they're not voting on the streets. That's all going to be part of the development. We're working on a development agreement. This is just, there's a number of steps to go along the way, and that's a different step. This step is about the preliminary plan.
So my concern is that there will need to be some changes to Johnson Drive.
Well, that's going to be public comment for another day. That's not about the preliminary plan.
So, okay, my other questions have to do with competition, specifically even for this.
That's still not about the preliminary plan.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
Thanks. When Mr. Valenti and the developer were talking about event space and fitness center being placed into this preliminary plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the council's opinion on the competition that'll have, like even with this facility we're in this evening?
Okay, we're talking about the preliminary plan. We're not talking about who's in it. We're just talking about what it's going to look like, how it's going to be set up, the parking, the various uses. We're not talking about any specifics.
So you're going to vote on the preliminary plan this evening, or you're going to vote on the preliminary plan and you're not concerned who's going to be in it or what the impact will have to the community?
Well, you know, there's this thing called free market, and Mr. Valenti has the opportunity to go in and to enter into lease agreements with a variety of tenants, and Mission doesn't pre-authorize or pre-approve those.
So no. That's not, you're saying that's not being taken into consideration when you look at the plan?
When you look at the preliminary plan, we know what a couple of his uses are. So we know what the aquarium is, we know where he wants to put his hotel, we know he's got retail use, and we know his office use. If you're asking about specifics, which is what you're asking about, that's not what we're talking about tonight.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, you're going to vote on the plan without knowing what's going to go into it, what the impact to the community.
Do you need specifics, or do you need the general? Because what we're talking about right now is a site plan and what his general plan is, what he's looking at for what he's anticipating residential units to be, what he's anticipating retail units to be, what he's anticipating office units to be, what he's anticipating where the aquarium, the hotel, where it's going to have some green space. All that stuff is what we're working on. We're not talking about who's the names of anybody that's going to be in any of those places.
I didn't bring up any name. So you're just not concerned with who occupies that space or if that space is occupied at all? Okay,
I'm
thank
really
you.
not
I
sure where
appreciate
you're
it.
going. Thank you.
Leslie Kallenbach, and prior to moving into 6101 Lamar, I lived at 5417 Linden, which was in Roland Park. So I feel like I have a long history in the Northeast area and also was part of the Leadership Northeast group many years ago. So I feel like I have a big investment in this particular area. I also want to acknowledge this particular city council. There's a wonderful saying by Winston Churchill that you need to know when to stand up to speak and when to sit down and listen. And I must say that the city council is one that I wish would be mirrored on the national level as well as what we have here. And that is we always have a very comfortable level of knowing that we can speak and be heard. And that if we come to something, there will be a lot of great information that we can sit and listen to. So I would like to acknowledge that and say thank you for that. In regard to the plan that is being presented tonight, and again, it's preliminary plan, it doesn't come as a surprise to many of you that I visit with a lot of people, not just in the city of Mission or Roland Park, but a lot of our sister cities. And so it's been with a great deal of enthusiasm that I might have brought this discussion forward. But I do know when to be quiet and listen to when they might have something to say to me in return. And I think that one of the things that I've heard very consistently is an excitement on the part of other sister cities, and that includes people that live in Leawood and people that live in Overland Park. Because one of the things that many of them have shared with me is an acknowledgement of the fact that we are landlocked and we're limited in how many ways we can bring in a multi-use complex into our area. So this was really an exciting proposal. And for me, it was particularly exciting to see that there was buy-in from other sister cities. It was not as if it was something we were trying to do to another city, but rather they were excited for what could happen to Mission and how that overflow might in fact impact them in a win-win situation, whether that was retail, because of visitors, how it might impact restaurants, people staying within the community in terms of whether they're coming in as visitors or not. So I found that a really exciting concept, that they did have an investment in seeing us succeed. And there was an investment in the planning as it's been presented so far. As a member of the Sustainability Commission, obviously I'm excitedly embracing the green concepts and the longevity and the adaptability of the use of this site. I see that as another very positive component. I am also impressed with the amount of work that has gone forward with everyone in terms of the planning and looking again ahead at how things can be adapted as the process goes along. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Mrs. Summerall, please remember we did receive 2 petitions. However, they did not meet the 20% required. Correct? So it's a simple majority, not a super majority.
The protest petition filed by the City of Roland Park constitutes 14.95% of the notification area of 200 feet around this property. It takes 20% to be a valid protest petition. The other 2 petitions received were valid because the owners did not sign.
Right.
So it appears it will take simple majority to approve this plan, 2/3 majority to reject the recommendation of the planning commission.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right. We have a motion to adopt the recommendation of the planning commission. And as Mr. Hubbins said, it will be a simple majority, and it would take a 2/3 majority to reject the recommendation. Okay? All right, now you may.
Andre.
Aye.
Footlight. Aye. Gibbs. Aye. Rostier.
Aye.
Crane. Aye. Shepherd.
Aye.
Vandenberg.
Aye.
Weber.
Nay.
All right.